Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jamie Parrott, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for MedResults Network, and I'd like to welcome you to our educational presentation, Making Patient Financing Work for Your Practice. First, I want to apologize for my slightly rough voice today. I promised to keep my commentary short, but I just want to give you a little background on why we're holding this presentation today. Over my 8 years at MedResults, I've seen a ton of changes in our industry with respect to patient financing. Major patient financing companies have changed their policies with respect to who they'll work with. They've also tightened up their belt, so to speak, in terms of approvals. And what we found is that many of our members have complained that this is really affecting their patient conversions and overall revenue. So as a result, we spent many years trying to find the right patient financing partner, one who would cater to all of our members and not just one type of practice, since we have such a diverse group of members. We were also looking for a patient financing partner who could offer increased approvals and of course, better support for our members. And as a result, just over a year ago, we chose to partner with LendingUSA, who we think is the premier option for patient financing in our industry. Today, we've invited special guests from LendingUSA, their Director of Business Development, Nason Ruipur, and a key account manager, Devin Circus. They're going to be sharing some insights as to how to choose a patient financing partner, why patient financing should always be offered to patients, and of course, how to have that tedious conversation with your patients about payments and patient financing. As we have a lot of content to share today, we may run over the 30 minutes scheduled for this presentation. So if you have to jump off early, that's okay. We can send you the recorded presentation after the event. And also, if you have questions during the presentation, don't hesitate to use the chat box to type them in. If we receive any questions during the event, I'll actually be sharing these with Nason and Devin at the end of the presentation. And also, just a final reminder, after the close of the webinar, a 4-question survey is going to pop up in your screen. We're going to ask for your feedback about today's presentation. And if you could take just a moment to fill that out, it provides us with some great feedback, and it'll also give you an opportunity to receive more information from LendingUSA, as well as your complimentary ebook. So with that said, I'd like to introduce our special guest speakers from LendingUSA, Nason and Devin.
Thank you, Jamie. It's a pleasure to be here again, and we appreciate all the hard work that you and all the folks at MedResults Network put on not only this webcast, but all the services you guys provide to your network. I am joined today by my colleague and friend, Devin Circus, and we're going to slowly walk you guys through patient financing and how you should be maximizing whatever patient financing partner you have to drive revenue and convert, as Jamie said, more of the patients that come into your office. I always like to start with a quick quote from the industry. A client of ours here and a friend of mine in Los Angeles is a doctor by the name of Fred Sahafi. He always tells me that when he started in the industry 25 years ago, maybe 5 to 10% of his patients would inquire about patient financing. He says, though, that today, even though he's in the middle of Beverly Hills, roughly 90% of his clients at first point of contact will inquire about patient financing, whether it's available, what are the options. And he says that in and of itself was one of the biggest drivers for him changing his business processes internally, and that made a very significant impact to his revenue generated in the years that came after that. So I think we all should be aware, whether you use LendingUSA, whether you use Care Credit, one of the other large reputable companies in the market, really understanding where your patient financing fits, how your organization at all levels deals with it, from marketing to sales to presentation, and even aftercare, and just being able to talk to it comfortably without it being kind of onerous upon anyone. But without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight in. So we're going to cover a few things. This is just a very high level as to the content, shall we say. We'll go through some introductions and talk about how the financing companies should be working for you, how to get more applications and thus approvals. And at the end of the day, more applications, more approvals, you're going to get more patients in the chair to enjoy your services. How to get paid faster. And then we'll go through some conclusions that we've developed through our time together. So as Jamie has introduced us, this is some funny pictures of myself and Devin. I am the funny looking gentleman on the left. I know my face does not match my accent, so I apologize for that, and for any British colloquialisms that I'll bring up from time to time. Devon will always be smacking his head when I mention anything British. So again, he'll mock me incessantly if I say something that is too funny. So who is LendingUSA? Just a very quick overview as to who we are and our credentials. We are one of the premier medical finances in the country. We've been designed from the ground up to be the most patient-friendly and practice-friendly point-of-sale financing solution available. What that generally means is we put our medical clients first, whether you're a med spa, whether you're a nurse practitioner's med spa specifically, we're happy to work with those kinds of offices. We feel that the service that they do to their communities is fantastic, and we're really there to support all types of medical professionals across the US. Our leadership team includes Mike Tester, who's my boss, the president of the company. He was the president of Care Credit and built them up until they sold to GE Capital in 2005. We've also got executives from Lending Point, Lending Tree. Devon himself came from Experian, the large credit referencing agency. And we've got quite a lot of expertise on our side. We are exclusively endorsed by the American Academy of Cosmetic Surgery. And we're used, I'd say, about between 2,000 and 2,500 medical practices in the US. And that ranges through med spas, nurse practitioner owned especially, cosmetic surgeons, dermatologists, you know, pretty much the full spectrum of medical professionals. So is your financing company working for you? I think that's a very important question. With anything related to business, like to think of things from a holistic point of view, from a top-down macro point of view. No single data point should ever be overvalued over another. Now, the most frequent question I think any of us in the industry will get asked, whether at trade shows or in events, is what are your discounts? What are you charging per loan? Devon, would you agree?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
It's the forefront of every doctor's mind, and it's the first thing they ask. And I think it is an important question. How much are you paying per loan? It's the cost of doing business. Now, we all know if we take, credit card, there is a transaction fee for that from the merchant processor. Lending and financing works in the same way. I'm always mindful of saying that any company that has a very complex discount process is always going to be charging you a little bit more, and they're making it more complex to kind of convolute that. But in general, most people play on the same playing field. We have our claim to fame as the cheapest medical financer in the country. But, of our competitors, Care Credit and the others, everyone roughly charges the same amounts. And so I would always say, don't just look at the discounts. Look at the whole thing. And that's why we look at the other data points below. Are there chargeback penalties? Everyone knows about credit cards, and Devon likes to give a story about going to a restaurant, really not liking the meal, maybe it makes you a little bit ill or something, and then the next morning calling your credit card company to dispute the charges. Now, credit card companies are pretty heavy-handed. They'll come down on the customer side more often than not, and a chargeback will be issued. What we're finding in the medical industry as well is that has become a larger problem, especially over the last 12 to 18 months. All the events I've gone to in this time, it's been a complaint that the doctors have brought up to me pretty quickly. Do we do chargebacks? Why are more lenders doing chargebacks? Those kind of things. And I think it's important to understand what your lender does in those instances. What will your lender more traditionally do? Are they going to be siding with the patient? Is the patient able just to complain and then there be a dispute and then eventually the credit card company come back and take the money out of your account again? All of those things are very important to understand, because you could have the best financer in the world, but if their chargeback policy is very strict, then that's going to cause issues for your practice down the line. At the end of the day, in any of the markets we operate in, we're dealing with the retail public at large. And you can't please all of the people all of the time. No matter how good you operate, someone may have just come in on a bad mood or come in a bad place, and they may well put those disputes in unrelated to any performance that you have done. And as a result of that, really clearly understanding the lender's chargeback policies is important, and also what your responsibilities to that are, how you can mitigate that. Further to that, I always like to say, enrollment and membership fees are an old hat play. They should not be involved anymore. We shouldn't be getting charged to just have that option available. And for the most part, most of the large reputable lenders in the market, ourselves included, won't have any enrollment or usage fees. You don't pay a monthly fee, you don't pay a usage fee. Financing really at its core is giving you and your patients an additional option so that they can enjoy your services without the large ticket cost up front, and you can do more services to more patients without worrying about them paying out of pocket. That's all it is. So enrollment, membership fees, big no-no, really should move away from that. Promotional financing fees is an interesting one, and I think I touched on it when I was discussing discounts, but a lot of lenders, the biggest in the industry, will charge a varying scale of discount based upon the promotional period that you offer. So if you're offering a 6 months interest-free period, that may have, let's say, a 5% discount rate, but if you're going to offer a 24-month interest-free period, that may well have a 15% discount rate. Now, obviously, if we're looking at it from a lead generation perspective, bodies in the door, 24 months interest-free is probably going to get more of them there. But is that worth it with regards to paying the discount that you would have to pay at the end of it? And does that fit into your overall business margin that you currently have? Is it going to be cost effective for you, is effectively what we're looking at. So again, understanding all of that is very, very important.
I just want to add on that, Nathan, the flip side of your 24-month period getting people in the door, the flip side of that is the lower cost to you, the 5% or the 6% discount to you will only provide the patient most likely a 6-month term, which in turn makes it a lot more difficult for them to pay off, and thus putting them in a undesirable position after that 6-month period if the loan is not paid off. We're going through these 4 or 5 key points on fees. Rather specifically, the key thing to keep in mind also is the whole picture. What does your finance company do for you specifically in terms of cost, the support that they provide, but also the benefits and the downfalls to your patients? The loan's not yours. It's our loan. It's our relationship with your patient, but they still will have some type of correlation with that loan because it did come from you. So it's important to look at the whole picture and the whole package of what you're offering and what you're providing your patients and the experience that they're having with you. And that's something that we keep in mind with how our program is put together.
That's a fantastic point, Devin. I think that's very important. We hear that from time to time from all of our clients, whether they're in the medical space or otherwise. The reputation that they have in their practice, they understand the value that has now, whether it be online reputation or whatever else. People understand that if they're coming to you for a service, most likely, as Devin mentioned, they're going to attach some of the financing to you psychologically. So it's always good to note and to ask your lender, what are their policies for collections? How do they treat the borrowers? Because fundamentally, they are also impacting your relationship with them. And so you want to be with someone who is consumer friendly. The other thing to mention as well, as Devin said, is the promotional period's fantastic to get people in the door, but is it a lot of the time the best solution for your clients? A lot of these promotional periods will have interest free, let's say for 6 months or 12 months. And then at the end of that period, the interest gets jacked to 29.99, which is the legal maximum that most of us are allowed to do if the loans are federally insured, which ours are. And again, most of the reputable lenders will be. So it's important to bear that in mind. And for a lot of people, paying a standard interest rate, between 10 and 20% is actually better for them than taking out $10,000 or $20,000 on a 6 months interest free that they're never going to be able to pay off in that time. So bearing that in mind as well is also important. But at the end of the day, it's providing your patients with the option. The support element, I also think, is very, very valuable. I think that as the world that we live in develops and evolves, everyone's becoming everyone's developing a very high level of expertise in their own area. I'm confident to say that I'm, an economic expert, I'm a financing expert, Devin the same way, but we're not medical experts. We don't understand truly what it takes to operate day in, day out inside a medical office. But in the same vein, you shouldn't expect yourself or your staff to become financing experts themselves as well. So your financing company should be there as that support, as that leverage to help you, how to talk about financing, how to promote it, how to market with it. And companies like ourselves and others in the space will provide that kind of marketing support, sales support. They'll provide you with best practices. They'll even provide you with marketing materials, website banners, links, physical materials you can put into your office from brochures and other things. All of that is kind of talking to a comprehensive integration with your finance company that really is necessary to maximize the relationship. And fundamentally, when you maximize the relationship with your finance company, you're going to get more revenue in the door and fundamentally be able to grow your business more. Are they approving your patients? So I would say after discounts, the next question I always get from the vast majority of people is, how many people can you approve out of 10? And I always find that difficult to answer. From a data standpoint, it purely relates and correlates to the demographics of the area that you're in. Someone that's in a high demographic area with higher FICO scores are going to get more approvals than someone that's in a very, very rural area that has lower FICO scores on average. So understanding what your minimum FICO requirement from your lender is important, but it's not also the only thing to remember. I give always the example of my wife. My wife is a doctor in Orange County. She has a FICO score above 820. So her FICO is near perfect. And people would think on the top of, on the face of it, she would be a great borrower. She has a great job, good stable income, and a high FICO score. Now, that's actually disingenuous. And I'll break it down a little bit, and I won't get too technical, but your FICO score is a representative coefficient of historical performance with credit. And what that basically means is, over the last few years, how have you paid back your credit lines? Have you been paying them on time? Have you been late at any point? All of that is going to go to your building your FICO score. But to a lender like us, your FICO score only tells us how you've performed historically. It doesn't tell you how you're going to perform today. So other factors that lenders will look at are things like DTI. DTI is your debt to income ratio. So we'll take my wife, great income, great FICO score, but let's say she's spending 90% of her income paying back existing loans and credit card obligations. Suddenly you realize actually her capability to pay back new debt is very low. So she's not a good borrower. In the same vein, someone like myself who hasn't been in the country too long and hasn't had time to develop a credit profile, but has no debt and has a strong FICO score and a strong income, is in lots of instances a better profile of a borrower. So it's just understanding what your specific lender requires so that neither yourselves nor your patients have that over expectation of delivery. We get it once a week, twice a week, where someone will call and they'll be upset and say, oh, we got declined and we have this and we have an amazing credit score. And, unfortunately, the legal requirement is that we send them a letter, but a lot of the time it is because their DTI will be too high, or maybe they've got a couple of accounts into collections. It's understanding the whole picture. Like I said at the beginning, your relationship with your financing company, just like your business as a whole, should be a holistic one. You should look at every factor and understand it so that you're managing your own expectations, that of your staff and that of your patients. The approval amount is something that I will spend a little bit of time on very quickly. So your approval amount will be based upon all of the factors I've just mentioned, but there will be a very large difference between the types of lenders that you use and the amounts that they are able to approve for. So a good example will be revolving lines of credit. Credit card companies, Care Credit being one of them, and there are many others in the market, they are known as revolving lines of credit. Once you're approved for it, you can then use it and pay it back and use it again and again. What that means for the lender, though, is that you're approving the line of credit for a much longer period of time, and the risk is greater. So generally speaking, revolving lines of credit, credit card issuers, will have a lower approval amount. If you use an installment loan lender, just a traditional loan lender like ourselves, we're able to approve higher amounts because it's a single loan and they're paying it off every month over a fixed term. As a result of that, the risk to the lender is different. And in general, installment loan lenders like ourselves are able to approve for a much, much higher amount. We do a lot of surgeries and procedures above 20,000 on a weekly basis. I would say less, between 30 and 35 in this particular industry. But as a business, it's something we do all day long. And it's a lot easier for us to approve to those levels with our applicants. Just something to bear in mind. Are they easy to work with? Now, I'm never going to badmouth anyone in the market. I think that healthy competition drives us all forward and drives us all to be better. But I'm sure we all know of complaints about a lending company or a bank or a credit card company you've worked with in the past. And it's important to note how easy your lending company is to work with. Are they available to you? Do you have a dedicated support rep? Do you know who that dedicated support rep is? And can you call him at any time for just quick questions, or her? That's a very important one. Funding time is one that I probably get asked in third place after the other two top ones. How quickly do you fund? Now, for the most part, most lenders will fund through the ACH system directly into your bank account. And that's important because it means that the systems are automated. You're not waiting a few weeks for a check to be sent out like the days have gone by. And you know, a funding time any more than, let's say, 3 or 4 business days really is going to be difficult to maintain if you've got cash flow problems in your business. So understanding how they pay you and under what conditions is very important. Their customer support, like I said, are they easy to get in touch with? Do they resolve issues quickly? This is something that I also want to stop on for a second, because it's something that I get asked a lot by the medical community. What is our role in disputes? Is our role in disputes to manage and resolve it on behalf of the doctor? Now, we at LendingUSA have taken pretty much the opposite tact. We're saying that the doctors, dentists, medical spas, nurses, all of those that we work with, we're relying that they are adhering to their regulations, they are board certified or they are certified to the standard required by their specialty. And as a result of those things, we're confident that they're going to do the best for their patients. As a result of that, we don't want to be in the middle of any disputes. We don't. We want to be away from them. We're saying that the transaction is between the patient and the medical office, and we want the medical office to work it out. We don't want to be in the middle. Other lenders take a different approach. They take the approach of, oh, this is our money, so we have to be involved in the dispute, and evidence needs to be sent left and right, and all those kinds of things. Understanding how your lender operates in a dispute is very, very important. Even if they're the cheapest lender in the world and approve the most, if they're going to charge you back in the instance that any customer complains, that's not a great relationship to have, and it's going to cause a lot of stress and financial hardship from time to time in your office as well. So just understanding what the dispute resolution process is for your lender is always going to be important. Reviews. You know, we're very proud of our reviews, of our borrowers, and of what our doctors and office managers say about us. But we're a new company. We know 100% that our reputation will make or break our company. As a result of that, as I mentioned earlier, we're very soft with our patients, with our borrowers, and at the same time, we're super friendly to our medical offices, because at the end of the day, the way we see it is that it's a symbiotic relationship. The better the medical offices do, the better we do. And as a result, we want to be there for them, but at the same time, manage and maintain a strong reputation so that their patients are happy, their staff are happy, everyone's happy. It should really be a win-win-win. Okay, so we're going to make a little bit of a left turn here and talk about increasing applications and increasing the approvals. Now, financing is really a numbers game. You know, if at a top level you imagine that your lender is approving, let's say, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 of your patients, and from there you're converting 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 of those patients, you can understand that just having more people apply will give you more approvals, and as a result get you more fundings and more services completed in your office. And I'm going to be talking about it in that kind of top of the funnel mentality, because fundamentally that's what it is. Now, I'm just going to touch on a few statistics, and again, I hope I'm not boring anyone, but most people in this country, unfortunately, have less than $1,000 in savings. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and this data is very new, as you can see in the light blue lines, last year, Bankrate was reporting that 34% of US based residents had nothing in savings, and 35% had less than $1,000. Now, what that tells me is nearly 70% of the population has less than $1,000 in their bank account, and realistically, they shouldn't be using that for an elective procedure, because that should be their emergency cushion. So what do they do in that instance if they do want to enjoy the benefits of improving their health or improving their look for themselves? Well, financing is the option. Alternative payment methods are really more important than ever. I don't know of an industry in the US that really has a high ticket amount and doesn't offer financing. I bought a new iPhone recently, they offered me financing. I went into a car dealership, they offered me financing. You buy a laptop, they offer you financing. Every industry in this country with a reasonable ticket cost will have financing available. And it's because it makes things easier on everyone. Rather than spending $2,000 today, we can spend, $30, $40, $50 a month and pay it out over term and still get the products and services you want today. Everyone knows that. And it's, as a result of those things, imperative that everyone kind of offers financing to some degree or other. Easy access to financing also creates more potential patients for your practice, promoting it in the right way. And we're going to touch on this a little bit more in the slides that come, but integrating it into every level of your organization is really the most important thing. once it's done, the work is a lot easier for both your staff and yourself. If someone is aware of financing because they checked it out on your website before they came in and applied, then they're coming into your office with a very clear set amount to spend and an understanding of what they're capable of taking from your office. That's the perfect patient that's walked in right there. So just integrating financing and giving your patients the understanding and the awareness that there are a multitude of ways to pay is really going to push your bottom line upwards. So this is where I think more often than not, offices that struggle will struggle with financing. And it's the approach. I don't want to talk about financing. I'm a nurse or I'm an office manager. I don't want to, ask people difficult questions about their finances. But realistically, like I said before, every industry you go into is now going to offer it. And if you look at the ones that are really successful with financing, those offices in the medical space and those industries outside of it, whether it be cars or otherwise, what they do with it is make sure everyone is aware, front and center, right at the beginning, financing is available. And then they also nudge that at different parts of their processes. Something that Devon and Mike, something that Devon and Mike love to say, and I think it's fantastic, is to offer financing upfront and equally. And all that means is, if you're putting a notice on your website that you accept Visa, that you accept checks, also put a note up there that you also accept monthly payments through a financing partner. You don't have to name it if you don't want to, but if you say that the option is there, people will be aware of it and will ask for it if they want it themselves.
And really, you bring two key elements into that. Is first and foremost, you're making it comfortable for people to then take financing. It's some people don't want to ask for it.
Yep.
And additionally on the upfront and equal is, don't assume that the person that walks in with jewelry and well-kept and nice clothes doesn't need financing, and that the person that walks in a t-shirt and shorts does need financing as just based on looks. It's today's day and age. Nathan touched on the statistics. Financing is as American as apple pie, to steal one of Nathan's lines that he was probably going to use later on. And if it's upfront and equal to everybody and it's offered to everybody, then you're going to put yourself in a position to close more sales, generate more income. Along those lines, if it's offered to everybody, what we hear is that cosmetics and aesthetics are very much an impulse purchase. And it's a lot harder for somebody to throw down $5,000 for a couple of procedures. But with finance being offered, it's a little easier to take on a $150 or $200 payment than to plop down a credit card or pull from the what's left of the savings account. So by offering it to everybody, by making it upfront and equal, you open yourselves up to generate a lot more sales and increase business by a significant amount.
Yep, fantastic points, Devon. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is that it is more than a 80-day option. Even if someone can afford payments, don't make that judgment for them. Offer the financing still. And I'll give you a very simple reason as to why. An individual can have a good credit card balance. They can have no balance and a $10,000 line. But traditionally speaking, credit cards shouldn't be used for these types of purchases. And if they're relying on that credit limit for, let's say, an emergency expenditure or anything like that, then by utilizing it for an elective procedure, they then don't have that available credit to use later. Fundamentally as well, utilizing your credit cards will impact your credit score and your profile much, much more negatively than taking out a loan would do. Lenders like ourselves will look at what we call utilization of credit. So if you've got $20,000 in revolving credit lines available and you've used $19,000 of it, that's not actually a great borrower profile for most lenders. On the flip side, a loan is actually a positive credit influence. By taking out a loan, once they've made 2 or 3 payments, that's bolstering their credit profile significantly. And it also makes it, to a lending point of view anyway, more appealing to lend to that individual who's got, let's say, a couple of loans and no credit card balance, rather than an individual that has the same balance but in credit cards. Just a note to mention always. How to increase awareness. So nice and simple, use marketing materials. Use the marketing materials if the lender has them to help promote the fact that financing is available. We, for example, provide web banners, web links, brochures, posters, point of sale materials. We also offer the ability to technically integrate into people's websites with an iframe. So theoretically, a patient doesn't even need to leave your website to check out your services and apply for and get approved for financing. And that, from a patient experience point of view, is very, very strong. It keeps them on your assets. How to increase applications. Now, it's something that, again, I think a lot of medical offices shy away from, but fundamentally, we're all living in, for good or bad, a consumerist society. And a lot of the products and services we're offering are, you know, things that are elective. As a result of that, we shouldn't be shying away from selling. Upselling is also very important with regard to that. So train your sales staff, your office managers and your patient coordinators to really imagine and empower them to really imagine how, you know, a little bit of an upsell with additional fillers or injectables is going to increase your bottom line at the end of the year. Doing that a little bit with a few patients a week does have a measurable and significant revenue impact by the end of the year, and training your staff to do so is going to have that benefit. Again, your lenders should be able to provide some amount of sales training, but both in terms of rebuttals and how to approach things, but in general, how to do kind of basic level sales techniques. They should be able to help with that. When should they apply? Now, this is something that I think is very simple. Have them apply as early as possible. Most importantly for yourselves, so you understand what position that person is in. If they apply after they've done a patient consultation and you've already, you know, spec'd them up for a package of services, and then find out they're declined and then find out they can't afford it any other way, that's a fair amount of time that your office has spent with that patient that then isn't then converting into, you know, a client to the business. So having people apply early, having these financial discussions very early on is important so that you're truly qualifying the potential that that patient has. Something I want to mention here.
Nathan, if I could jump
Please.
in there in terms of applying early, one way that a lot of our cosmetic surgery practices will utilize financing, and Nathan mentioned the web links that we can put, web banners we can put on your website. A lot of our practices don't want to offer a free consultation if they don't know for certain that the patient can pay for the procedure somehow. So what they'll do is they'll have them apply via the website, via the web link that we put on your website. And if they get approved, they will then schedule them for a free consultation. So it's a way to get people in the door, still offer that free consultation, but know that you have a chance to generate business out of it. You're not just wasting away hour, 2-hour appointments for somebody that has no chance of paying for it to begin with.
Great point. Great point, Devin. The other thing I wanted to mention very quickly, and it's something that, again, if we go back into business economics mode, is easier to understand when you think about it. Generally speaking, and I think Hitachi Consumer Division did a study on this a couple of years ago, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, 86% from their study, 86% of respondents said that when financing was available, they spent more. And then that was confirmed by the merchants that they were studying at the same time. All that means is, if someone is putting something on a financing contract, whether it's credit or loan, they're going to spend more in your office than if they were coming in and spending that money out of pocket. And it's actually quite logical when you think about it. Someone coming in with $2,000 in their savings account, but they spent a few months savings up to get some fillers and injectables and some laser treatment, is only going to have that fixed budget. But if that same person comes in and you're able to get them approved for $3,500 or $5,000, and that $5,000 is only $200 or $300 a month, and they realize that actually that's exactly how much they can spend per month on something like this, then what you've done is both give your patient what they want, really, rather than what they could have afforded up front, and you've increased the service cost to that patient. Over the course of a year, you will notice that that significantly increases your average service cost. And again, that's really the bottom line here. Looking at it from a holistic point of view, from the top down, rather than an individual transaction based, is how you want to imagine not only your business, but the financing element with your business together. I think we've touched on this for the most part, but where to offer financing at the point of sale is really the fundamental one. You know, most lenders will give you brochures to put next to your patient consultation terminals and places like that. High traffic locations, the waiting rooms, putting up, again, materials from the lender, or just putting up signs. We accept financing. We accept these different forms of payment. And then online. I think we all are aware now that in this day and age, I wouldn't want to mention a number because I might be wrong, but a vast majority of consumers will check out a business's website before going into that physical location. I do it. I'm sure both of my colleagues in this room would do it. And for the most part, I'm sure most of the people listening would do it. You're going to check the website out of that business. Oh, where's their location? How does it look? Those kind of things. Putting financing on the website is highly important in the same way.
And in addition to where physically, the access to where a patient can apply for financing is critical. With LendingUSA, it's on a computer, on a tablet, on a phone, anywhere you have an internet connection, you are able to fill out an application, and whether you're on a phone, a laptop, a tablet, regardless of the mechanism, it is a clean and very easy process.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. Again, I think most lenders will operate like that nowadays. The ones that don't, may say something about them, but you want to work with a lender that has as many avenues and channels available to you for your patients to apply, whether that's from their cell phone, sitting in your office or before they come, whether that's from your website. You want to cast the net as wide as possible. So more purchasing power. I kind of mentioned this a minute ago, taking advantage of the maximum approval amounts. That is a big, big advantage comparative to relying on people paying out of pocket or relying on people paying with their credit cards, because then you're relying on what's available in their account or what's available on their credit limit. Whereas if you apply for a financing contract through your office, through your financing partner, they will tell you more often than not how much that person can get through a few different mechanisms. And you can then sell to what the patient really wants. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had my surgical clients come up to me and be like, oh, you don't understand. This lady came into our office and she wanted a breast augmentation. But realistically, in her mind, what she wanted was a mummy makeover. She wanted the full package. She couldn't afford it. But when we applied to LendingUSA, you were able to approve her for the full amount, and she is ecstatic. And fundamentally, with the services that you are all providing, you are impacting and improving your patients' lives. You are making them happier. You are giving them a higher degree of self-control over what they want to do from day to day. And that's a hugely, hugely positive influence that you have on their lives. So don't limit them by only what they can do today. Give them what they want. Give them the options of what they want. And using a lending company is going to help you do that. So, how to get paid faster? Everyone wants to get paid today. That's what I hear all the time. And as an example, we are looking at ways of doing same-day fundings. That's very, 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 very rare, though, in the industry. I don't actually know of any other lenders that do same-day fundings. It's something we're trying to do as a competitive advantage, but it is rare. Right now, we are an average of 3 days. Most lenders operate in the same way. The other thing to bear in mind as well is also that the ACH process does take a different amount of time based upon the recipient bank. So, for example, if Chase is the recipient bank, I know that they take around 48 hours to clear an ACH, whereas another bank may take the full 72 hours. So just understanding that will manage your expectations better.
One thing to add to that, Nathan, and that's all very true, but the one thing that we do provide our merchants, our practices, is when a patient has completed the application and signed documents, we're guaranteeing funding to the practice within that time frame. So you know that when the patient has signed docs, you are getting that money from LendingUSA. One analogy I often use is we work with veterinary surgeons as well. And the story goes, family dog gets sick at 2 in the morning. Dad rushes the dog to the vet. He's there at 2:30. By 3 o'clock, the doctor's done an analysis of the dog and a checkup of the dog and realized they need to go in for emergency surgery. By 3:30, Dad's filled out the application, been approved, signed documents. That vet can go into surgery at 3:45 in the morning, knowing that he's going to get paid by us within the next couple days.
Yeah, that's again a fantastic point. The other way to imagine as well is that we operate in a lot of retail environments where there are goods that are being taken away. And we have to be giving our clients that confidence to be able to give that client, that patient, whatever it may be, those goods, and then walking out the store, and that we'll then pay them. So yes, as Devin says, we, and I know a few of the other lenders do as well, guarantee the funds to the medical office once the signing of the contracts has been done. You also, we haven't really touched on this so much, but with regard to the application process, you want to work with a lender that's got a friendly one. Ours is around 5 to 7 minutes to complete everything. That's apply, get approved. That takes, as long as they fill out the application within 10 seconds, we'll give an answer. And then just selecting the offer and signing the loan documents online. That for us takes between 5 and 7 minutes. For some lenders, it might be a little bit more, but that's not an unreasonable amount of time to spend on these kind of things. Understanding your lender's ID requirements is an important one. You're going to have, whomever you work with, a certain level of obligation to the lender in terms of not allowing fraudulent applications to go through. You will have some power over that, and you won't have some power over it at the same time. If someone's committing ID theft and is presenting to you with an ID that looks great, there isn't a huge amount you can do to stop that, and one would hope that the lender's verification and fraud prevention systems would capture it just like ours would. But understanding what your obligations are in terms of documentation on each patient that is going through that lender is important. To give you an example, with us, the only thing we really need is a valid state-issued ID. We don't ever ask for it, really. It's only if there is an issue down the line that we'll ask you to send it to us. But we just want you to capture it and make sure that the person that is presented on the ID is the same person in your office and is the same person that's applied for the financing. Again, this is a symbiotic relationship, and that's one step that you take to help your lender, whether it be us or Care Credit, to prevent fraud on the platform. Key things to remember: does the name match? Is the ID valid? Is it permanent in state? Is the state the same as the state that they say they're living in? If you're in California like we are, is the person walking in with an Alaska driver's license and a Santa Monica address? Like, those things should be raising you red flags. And the simplest thing for you to do is call up your lender and ask them. I'd say, rather than, again, going through the processes and having an incorrect expectation of the results, give your lender a call, give your account manager or account representative a call, and they'll be able to answer your questions for you whilst the patient is still there, giving you the confidence to move forward, whatever the outcome may be. So we've reached the end, and I know I've showered you all with a lot of information and some poor British humor, so I do apologize for some of that, but I hope we've kind of learned a few things on our journey, and I really want you guys to take away a few key points. Encourage everyone to offer financing, because again, you never know, as Devin was saying, who's going to want it. You don't know that the lady that walks in with the Louis Vuitton and Prada, whether she's financed that stuff. Or if it's real. Or if it's real, as Devin always says. Don't make assumptions based upon anyone's appearance. I am very good friends with our Land Rover dealership in Santa Monica, and what they always say to me is, it's the guys that walk in sweatpants and hoodies that buy things on the day. It's the guys who walk in suits that don't. And so they don't judge anyone when they walk in the door, because you don't really know what situation someone's in. Integrate financing into your practice with marketing materials, with sales training, and truly empower your staff so that they understand how little actions for them will make a big difference to the bottom line of the company and the health of the company. At the end of the day, if you're unable to maintain your business, they won't have a job. And so you want to empower them to understand exactly where they can make little changes that will result in a big impact to the revenue generated by that business at the end of a year. And I know it sounds silly, but honestly, little changes will have a big impact at the end of the day. If you imagine that every one of your patients takes one single extra course of Botox, what that would result in at the end of the year, you can then imagine that these little changes will have this kind of impact. And putting them all together, is going to only be a positive thing for you, for your patients, for your business, for everyone involved. Reviewing the applications before submitting them is also important. I always like to say it's a symbiotic relationship. So as much power we're giving our clients to let their patients apply for financing, the little bit of give and take just says that, don't let someone apply with a fake ID. Don't let them apply for their mother's credit when the mother's not there. Little bits like that. It may sound reasonable, oh, my wife's not with me, let me just use her credit. But credit's a legal requirement. Credit's a legal thing. They're signing legal documents on behalf of someone else. And technically that's ID theft and fraud. So just being mindful of these things and being a little bit, not strict, but assertive with, oh, I'm sorry, sir, your wife will have to be here to apply, or have your wife apply from the website. Those kind of things will help you kind of stay ahead of anything bad occurring. As Jamie had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we do have a free ebook for you guys to take away and read, and it goes through a lot more of the detail of what we were discussing, how to grow your practice and save money with patient financing. and just to look at it from a holistic point of view. No one data point, as I said at the beginning, should make you love or hate a financing company. You should look at it from a total benefit to your company at the end of, let's say, a period of time, whether that be a quarter or a year or whatever. You should use it to help you achieve the financial goals and aims that you have, not only for yourself, but for your business as a whole. If you do want a free demo of our financing solution as well, you can call Devon's team at 877-495-0124, or you can visit our website at LendingUSA.com for more information or to schedule a demo and speak to us and see how we can help you guys grow your businesses as well. Again, I really appreciate you, Jamie, for setting this up, and everyone at MedResults Network. To the audience that's listening in, whether live or on a recorded, I appreciate your time. I hope that you've taken a few of our nuggets of wisdom away and used those to help grow your practice and be more successful. If anyone has any questions, please do call us. And one thing I did want to kind of just reiterate one more time, I do know that for some specialties, those especially that are in states that allow nurse practitioner-owned practices, do have some difficulty accessing financing options. We are more than happy to work with nurse practitioner-owned businesses. We think that they're providing a great service to their community at a high standard. So don't think that just because one lender won't work with you, others won't. We will and others will, and we'll be happy to take your call and discuss your particular needs in your office and your location. Again, I thank you for your time, and I hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday. Jamie?
Nathan and Devin, thank you so much. And Nathan, you actually hit on the key point I was going to stress to everyone, which is the fact that you guys do work with all different types of practices. And I think that's very imperative for our members to know, since we have such a diverse group of members that are in the MedResults network. But with that said, thank you again to our attendees today and to our listeners and to LendingUSA. We really appreciate your help. And you can certainly reach out to both Nathan and Devin or myself if you have questions or if you'd like a copy of the recording. Thanks so much and have a great afternoon and a great weekend. We hope to see you at our next webinar presentation. Bye-bye.